When I first began my work in information systems, I was a data transfer analyst. And in order to give you insight into the way I think and my experience that still continues to today, I want to point out a couple things about my work as a data transfer analyst. First, I worked at a small startup that, after a series of buyouts, eventually became GE Healthcare. The startup was a consulting company to healthcare professionals, and I supported a consulting service in which consultants partnered with physicians and hospitals to increase quality. Emphasis was on optimizing patient length of stay, capacity management, and patient health outcomes. In my data transfer analyst work, I was the account manager for over 140 clients. For those clients, I guaranteed timely monthly data submission, secured a 2-day turnaround for 100% of data loads, and documented daily account activity for seamless communication of status to the information systems and IT staff, client consultants, the sales team, and the clients. I was in this role for 2 years before being promoted to the senior clinical data technician. Now, regarding my experience with excellent customer service on my first day with the company, not only was I brand new to the company, I was brand new to corporate America in general. I had made a call to one of the information systems employees for one of the accounts to which I was assigned, and the employee was very disgruntled. I called to request data, and she respectfully but firmly and exasperated proceeded to list her grievances against our company, ending with an irritated closing of, "Welcome to your company." Now, her complaints were valid and she needed to be heard. So I listened. I asked clarifying questions. I let her know that I was listening and that I heard her, and she calmed down immediately. After our call, I did do the legwork to address her grievances and to correct what needed to be corrected. And the relationship was great and smooth throughout the duration of the contract for that client. I bring this example up in order to tell you that I listen to the client, and when a valid issue is presented, I do take the necessary steps and do the necessary work to put a solution in place so that the problem is fixed going forward. From day one, I worked this way, and I still do this today. Second, regarding my experience protecting the company for which I am working, there was an issue when I started as the data transfer analyst of obtaining data within a timely manner, and this hurt the reputation of the company with whom I was employed when the consultants were attempting to deliver the promised product to the client in a timely manner. There was an interesting dynamic going on here in that the head of the organization whom we served, for example, an executive at the hospital, would sign the contract for our company's services. Now, after the contract signing, in order to kick off the service, we first needed to obtain the hospital's data from their information systems department. And for whatever reason, many times the analysts in these departments thought that they had the authority to tell us that we could not have that data for various reasons, such as it was too large, or they had questions about who would pay for them to extract it. And it was very bizarre to me because their executive, the boss, is the person who signed the agreement and therefore authorized the collection of the data from the hospital staff. As a result of these stalls from the information systems departments, we could not move forward with the agreement at all. Our product, for which the hospital's executive signed an agreement to receive, was based on that data that the information systems employees oftentimes either refused to give or just would not respond to our request or return our calls at all. To deal with this, I put a standard operating procedure in place, and I called it 3 strikes and you're out. That standard operating procedure was to request the data 3 times within a timely period. And after the 3rd time, if the data was either not received or at least in queue to be transmitted, the issue was then brought back to the attention of the executive who signed the agreement. We let them know the issues and that we could not get the data from the information systems department. The issue was then in our client's hands, not ours, until it was resolved. In this way, we showed that we were being responsible and proactive, and therefore our reputation was protected. I do not remember one time after I implemented this procedure that I did not receive nearly an immediate response from the information systems department. letting me know that data was on its way and we received it in a reasonable time frame. I do remember some upset information systems employees with me because the issue was brought to the attention of the executive. I worked hard to keep a good relationship, and I explained, trying to reason with the employee, that I was sorry, but we had a product to deliver that was requested by the hospital on which they were waiting, and I was not getting a response, and we had to move forward. So this is the only way we knew how we could move forward. So this is all to say, just as I work hard to watch out for the customer and take care of the customer, I also watch out for the company. Along that same line and related to account management in general, I wanted to show you a few samples of my work in the form of emails. For my first example, I was an employee at this time, and this is in response to a client questioning the integrity of my employer's data, which I managed. The question was brought to the attention of the clinical outcomes consultants, reporting their findings to the end users to whom the product was being delivered. Those end users were composed of the physicians and hospital team members, and they knew firsthand that the data was inaccurate because they were the people who had done the procedures on the patients. So, here is the email in response to their inquiry. I have taken care to remove any identifying information to protect confidentiality. Here I state, hi, Consultant 1. I looked into the client's questions about physician assignment for specific patients. In order to investigate the discrepancy, I looked at the raw data that the client sent us so that we can be assured that nothing screwy happened in the load and that we are accurately representing what the client gave us. Following are my findings. In regard to the discrepancy cases, 1, for the AMI and CHF patients, the attending physician is the physician that is assigned to the patient for the cohort. The physician that we have listed for these patients is the attending physician given to us by the hospital's data department. 2, for the first PCI patient, client lead says in her spreadsheet that physician A performed the first cath and physician B performed the second. In the data submitted to us by the hospital's data department, physician B performed both caths, and hence physician B is accurately assigned to the patient for reports. 3, for the second PCI patient, client lead says physician C did the first cath, physician D the second, and physician E the third. In the data submitted to us by the hospital's data department, we only have record of 2 caths performed, and physician E is assigned as the procedure physician for both caths. Thus, according to the data that we were given, we are showing physician E accurately as the physician for the patient. Since we are reporting precisely what we have been given, if our data is different than what is on the medical record, then this is an issue that needs to be worked out and corrected at the hospital's data department. We, of course, can work with them to explain/give them examples of the discrepancies. In response, one of the company consultants on the team said, first of all, thanks to Jeanine for the work. The consultant lead commended me to our executive manager, saying, I just wanted to show you the lengths that Jeanine went to solve a client issue. This kind of support is very much appreciated, and the client has recognized this information as very helpful to her. Thank you very much, Jeanine. The product team loved working with you. Then our executive manager said, Jeanine, great job, especially in the way you tactfully phrased your email explaining the discrepancy. It demonstrated that our company has their act together. And finally, our project manager said, I second executive manager's sentiments. This is great work and really helps bolster our company credibility with the clients. So you see, I take time to go to the source. For the companies with whom I have worked, it is critical that we show that our data integrity is good according to what we have been given and to the best of our knowledge. I take time to thoroughly research that this is the case. I put an extraordinary amount of effort into making sure we have good data integrity, and I work in my writing and communication to be clear that we are competent. So again, in this way, I ensure that we show to the client that we are are competent and that we can be trusted to deliver our product well and accurately. Here is another example regarding the work that I do as an account manager in information systems. The client sent our consultant lead an email regarding questions about our company data. Here the client writes, "Consultant lead, we were reviewing the last company data this afternoon and some questions and concerns came up that we need your help with. It looks as if the axis-defining percentage of cases and percentage of mortality is mislabeled on some of the PTCA and CABG slides. Can you tell from the data if we are doing a good job with risk factor documentation for the CABG cases? The group thought we looked flat in that area. If we identified the patients, could you run the mortality and morbidity stats on the city-state cases? Can you tell us if valve mortalities are associated with cases that are having more than one valve being done or with additional cardiac procedures as opposed to just having single valve surgery? We did not see mortalities associated with particular complications for PTCA, and we were interested in that data. Thanks, consultant lead." After this email from the client, the consultant lead then followed up with me and requested a query in order to answer the client's questions and concerns. However, it did not seem to me that the query requested would get the job done. So here is my response. I wrote, "Consultant lead, the query that you requested is in your FTP directory. After reviewing the client's questions, I do not believe that the risk and procedure reports broken out by who did and did not die will help you answer the client's question because this report still does not show the percentage of patients that have either more than one valve or additional cardiac procedures. The report only shows the percentage of patients that had each individual code. Subsequently, I included additional queries for you so that you can answer the client's question. Please review the queries that I gave you, then let me know if you need any clarification or additional information." In response, the consultant lead commended my work to my boss and our executive manager. He said, "Jeanine, going above and beyond as always. She rocks." Then our executive manager followed up with, "Great job, Jeanine. Not only did you answer his direct question, but anticipated further questions and gave him the supporting documentation he needed. If only I could get everyone to think that way." If you are a hirer looking to hire me in a clinical data context, then this is a good sampling of the type of data with which I work. But regardless of whether you are in the clinical arena or not, I highlight this case in order to show that I do pay attention to what is asked of me. Sometimes the fulfillment requested will not answer the question. If that is the case, then I will identify this and give data that will answer the question. And I am consistently recognized and thanked for this trait. Finally, during my account management work, so that you may know my skills more fully, it is worth noting that I am an asset in the sales process because I communicate requirements well and help to make the prospective client comfortable with the procedures related to information systems. Here is another email. It is an email from the client to one of our executive managers saying, "As you probably know, things at hospitals move painfully slow. Our last hurdle was assuring that IS felt comfortable with the amount of effort it would take and that an analyst was assigned to the project. I spoke with the manager of IS today and got the green light from him. Client executive is back to the office on Monday. I would expect the contract to be signed then. I will ask him to fax it to your attention." In response, our executive manager said, "Jeanine, kudos to you for getting the client's IS department comfortable with our company. You were instrumental in getting this contract. Thank you." Then another example that I held on to was from a sales team member who noted, quote, "A special thanks to Jeanine for helping their IT department get through the data submission process and making the sales process much easier," end quote. So according to my coworkers, not only am I an asset in my primary information systems role, but I am also an asset in securing the sale. All of these examples have to do with the account management aspect of my work, and I have consistently excelled in this area since I began my career in information systems on day one as a data transfer analyst.